Today on Locked On Rockies, 6 games against the division, 0 wins.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 17th day of April in the year 2025. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show like a lot of you have been this week. We got a whole bunch of comments here to dive into, but a big thing that I've seen a lot of is putting more pressure and being more agitated or critical of this organization from media and such. And I want to dive into that concept a little bit more today. Of course, we'll recap the game from last night, diving into all of that and more today. Before we dive into everything, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So, yesterday's game basically started as the norm, with the exception of, hey, Rockies offense gets a run across in the first inning. They had an opportunity to put a more across, but strikeouts, of course, continue to plague the Colorado Rockies. Rockies striking out yesterday. Let's 16 times, 16 strikeouts for the Colorado Rockies yesterday. Their pitching staff returning the favor yesterday with 10 strikeouts of their own. But of course, the big thing in the big starter, German Marquez, not able to get out of the first inning and just absolutely clobbered by the best core in baseball. You can't, it doesn't matter if Ohtani's got 2 strikes. It doesn't matter if it's a fresh count. It doesn't matter. I mean, you just can't make mistakes to that guy. And when you do, he hits the ball over 450 feet. It's plain and simple. It's what he does. And when you're off and when you're not able to handle it, there is no reprieve in the Dodgers lineup. That first 3 through the order is insane. And then it just continues to go on when you go, because you have a Teoscar Hernandez, who was hitless yesterday, but still obviously a huge threat. And then just look at how the effectiveness of the bottom of the order for the Dodgers yesterday. Each one of the 7, 8, and 9 batters picking up a hit, and 2 out of the 3 having multiple RBI. And let's see. Yeah, 5 RBI from the 8 and 9 spot in that order for the Dodgers yesterday. When it comes to German, I mean, it stinks. I mean, it's a total bummer. I am also in the kind of the camp of German often starts slow. I do believe that he will continue to build himself up and get close to where he was. But like I said, it's still kind of interesting in the real. It just brings up in my mind German being 4th in the rotation this year, and just kind of curious about what the mind state is with German Marquez and the Rockies. It just doesn't seem like I'm totally just guessing here, and I'm totally just going off of some vibes here. Something seems off between the relationship with the Rockies and German. I mean, that's just me. It's just I don't really know necessarily how to put my finger on it, where it just seems like kind of just flew under the radar that he was into the 4th spot. Mixed with this start, I don't think overall it's been necessarily a phenomenal season for German Marquez here, especially when you're looking ERA wise. There's just something here that seems a little weird. Last night, the first time German's given up home runs on the season, though, which is interesting. But I do think that this can go back to the fact of it's just he needs more time. He needs more time to recoup. I mean, we can't. He's about to match his next start. Hopefully, will match or get close to his total innings pitched for the last 2 seasons when you're talking about the injury there. So I'm not going to sit here and be too concerned, but I think there are warning signs. And like I said, I think there's just some weird energy coming from the Herman situation, because it's, if he struggles, how much can you really move him at the deadline? Will Herman actually stick with the team after the year? I just can't imagine that if the season continues at this pace or a similar, very frustrating, grindy, real bad in terms of win-loss, I don't think there's a world that Herman Marquez resigns with the Colorado Rockies. Why would you? So that's going to open up some interesting points and interesting situations for the Rockies coming up. The other takeaways, of course, other than the Dodgers being really good and the Rockies not being really good, big blast from Michael Toglia that has to feel good. I mean, a couple more strikeouts in that game, and still lots of work to do to break out of, being one of the worst hitters in baseball statistically. And I believe he has struck out the most when it comes to any qualified batter this season. Get a big grand slam, get the team within one, fight back into this one. It did show a little energy. I mean, to get that score as close as it was, to keep the pulse alive, to keep the fight alive, with the home run from Mickey and the grand slam from Toglia, the Rockies were flirting with getting themselves back in and stealing and snapping the streak. And I mean, if you complete that comeback, that's a good momentum changer. But unfortunately, as has often been the case, it's close, but not close enough. Not good enough. Not enough to get over the finish line. Not enough to finish and complete the big comeback, complete the big moment. Not enough to close out and win games. The Rockies, as reflected by their record, have struggled from winning games. 6 games against the division on the road, all losses. And that's just the nature of the beast. That's the status of the Rockies. That's where we're at. That's there's not much about the Rockies that you can really just say that there's much that's clicking. There has to be something. I don't know. There needs to be some element that makes it feel like they can not only do what they did last night to bounce back and generate the offense, but it's just like they haven't shown that they can do it. They haven't shown that they can complete the comeback. I just feel like we haven't even seen that in general. I don't know. I'm in a tough spot to think of the optimism here. I'm in a tough spot. Here's just some stuff from Patrick Lyons here, just to kind of paint the scene of where the Rockies have been this season. Rockies lose 8-7 to the Dodgers to complete the 0-6 road trip. 9th time in team history going winless in at least 6 games. 3rd time in the last 5 seasons. Colorado has a 10-game losing streak away from Coors Field. Franchise record is 13 losses back in 2008. Colorado scores 7 runs, most on the road since last August, but strike out 16 times. Through the Rockies' first 26 seasons, they struck out that much during 24 games, only once in their first 5 seasons. In the past 7 seasons, they've struck out 16 times in 29 games. Can we put our finger on what matches up with 6 or 7 years and a trend that has only gotten worse under the same watchful eye of the same people? Something's got to give with the Colorado Rockies. If we hear from the organization and it just comes out to be, we sticking with it, it's just baseball, it's just the tough stuff, then you're going to keep, then the energy and the caring and the passion from Rockies fans will be low. The rest of the NL West and the rest of baseball will circle their calendars knowing that they can strike teams out 30 times in a series, shut them out, and then sweep them away to build their way back up into the conversation. It's still early enough where the Rockies can go on a run, but the runs the Rockies go on are losing streaks. These are the Rockies don't do winning streaks. They don't go on very many. It doesn't happen very often. These are the streaks the Rockies go on. A week where we haven't seen a win. Shoot, took a franchise record to get a run across the plate. That's it. The Rockies are where they are, and they will remain where they are until they adjust, until they change their philosophy, until they do something differently where they can do the preparation so they can get up there and don't look so lost at the plate and go down on strikes. Until they can get Ryan McMahon and especially Ryan McMahon and Michael Toglia to be consistent hitters, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change when the flaws and the problems continue to be enabled. A lot of people want more pressure on the Rockies from media and want to hear more about, or I haven't seen a ton of comments about that, but I'm just curious what more people might want in certain situations, because from what I see, I don't really see many people painting a positive picture of the Colorado Rockies. Let's talk about that coming up next on today's episode of Locked on Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Amazon Fire and the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controllers, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With Wi-Fi 6/6E and auto low latency mode, advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning-fast speeds you need to stay competitive. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney+, Max, and more. No more having to just share the TV. Get it on all of your Amazon Fire TVs there, and make sure you got that Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K to get that smooth, responsive gameplay. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV locked on to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire Stick TV 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd generation. We are also brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is the best spot to go when you need tickets for the big game, like Rockies and Nationals this weekend at Coors Field. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Gametime makes getting tickets even easier. Honestly, that's one of my favorite things about Gametime, where you're kind of going back and forth. You don't know if you want to go to something, or you don't know if your schedule is going to allow it. It's so great knowing that Gametime has got you covered. And get this, ticket prices drop as game time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. You can get last minute tickets, and Game Time's got unbeatable prices, which means you got more money for a nice cold beverage or food and merch. You can find the top discounts in the stadium by using the Game Time Picks features that filters out the fluff and highlights those top discounts. And my favorite part, you can preview your exact seat. Yes, you're going to know exactly where you're sitting thanks to a panoramic seat view when you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Locked On Rockies here, thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where we got a lot of fired up Rockies fans here. Let's see here. I want to find this comment that basically, though, it might have been on Twitter, but I'm trying to see. No. It's definitely a comment here. I want to read from this. It's a little bit out there, folks. We've got a lot of folks that have been. We've never gotten more comments in Locked On Rockies history than we have this week, because I mean it is abundantly clear how disappointed and frustrated Rockies fans are. And I found what I got here, and this is from TK here. The biggest issue at this point that is standing out now is how status quo the local baseball writers are. Patrick Saunders and Thomas Harding should really be ashamed of himself for not speaking up whatsoever. Saunders had to write about Alana Rizzo actually speaking up about the organization and blasting Dick. Can you imagine Buddy Black still managing a team doing this bad in New York, Philly, LA? The articles would not be friendly, but he plays in beautiful Colorado where, to be honest, I don't think anybody cares. I have a funny feeling I might go the rest of the season and not watch one game because Buddy will still be the manager. And TK's, we've read some comments from TK, a passionate Rockies fan, but I got to push back here. Thomas Harding works for baseball. You have to understand the relationships that some of these people have and what their jobs are. Thomas Harding, for example, works for MLB.com. He's a he writes for the game of baseball. So his job isn't necessarily to be like me, like a sports radio station or like a newspaper, where, I mean, his job is to write about the Rockies basically for the Rockies. And Thomas has been doing it for a long time, and in his work has not been afraid to point out the flaws, the issues. I don't think he's ever really hidden away from the things, but a guy that works for baseball and the Rockies, basically, and by proxy, the Rockies, you can't just go out and do the same things that I might be able to do. And as for Patrick Saunders and such, I haven't seen anybody painting a rosy picture of the Colorado Rockies this season. I mean, this is not any. I mean, there hasn't been much when it comes to positivity, but you also have to find some other things. You can't only just do the bad stuff. I mean, even I have to find some things that are the small slivers of lining. But I mean, just last night, Patrick Saunders says that Rockies Dodgers is Globetrotters versus the Washington Generals. No, it's not the most difficult burn, but if you scroll through here, there's plenty of things to and in his mailbags. It's just kind of I guess my point is, I don't see a lot of positive media coverage about the Rockies. In fact, I don't see much media coverage about the Rockies at all. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the only reason I see so much about the Rockies is because I follow these guys. But I wouldn't sit here and say that really anybody is sitting here pumping up. I mean, Patrick is also always talking about and working with and retweeting and partnering with Troy Rennick of there. And if you follow Troy, the furthest thing from positive about the Rockies. But guess what? All their stuff is getting drowned out by right now. It's drowned out by playoff Nuggets coverage. It's drowned out by playoff Avalanche coverage with Gabriel Landeskog coming back. I don't think that. I think there's a lot of heat on this team. I don't think if you look out there and you look at the Rockies coverage, I don't think you're going to find a lot of positive stuff. I don't think you're going to find a lot of people that are carrying water for the team here. I mean, it's. I don't think that anybody is hiding the truth from how bad this team has been and how bad this season is going. It's just, I think there is just, you do have to just remember and just put a little nuance onto that stuff, because we had some other people saying, why isn't this a bigger deal? The Rockies should be, there should be a force of the sale. Man, there was a tweet that I saw yesterday of just how bad the Rockies have been since 2020. And it just reminded me of that cursed, or the Rockies 11-3 to start the pandemic season. And it's got like Nolan Arenado on it. And then it all has come apart. It's come apart for a long time. But I don't know. Maybe and I could be out of pocket. I could be, but like, I know for a fact the only coverage that the Rockies are getting on radio stations is to mock them. Is not to, I guess, mock, but like, is to criticize. Just go look at D-Mac's posts from altitude. Go look at what Shap's got to say about the Rockies. I mean, go look to see about what any of the radio stations are saying about the Rockies as well. I mean, I don't think that there's really anything in town that's out there sitting saying that the Rockies are in the best spot that they need. That it's all puppies and candy canes here. There's But I mean, you can even like here's just this from Patrick Saunders' latest mailbag here. Nick, of course, the Rockies powers that be. This is after a question that's asked this. Patrick, after the horrible weekend where the Rockies scored 0 runs and only had 9 hits, they are once again sitting in the basement of the National League West. How does the organization continue to operate without urgency or desire to win? Every year, the owner, general manager, and manager lead the fans on and say things to make it seem positive for the future. The reality is that there is an organizational failure that has gone on for years with no accountability. Does MLB truly like the product that the Rockies put out every year? It feels like this is beyond an embarrassment at this point. Can Major League Baseball force a change in any manner? And here's what Patrick has to say. Nick, of course, the Rockies powers that say positive, the powers that be say positive things about the club, at least publicly. What else are they going to do? But believe me, Bud Black and Bill Schmidt know they don't have enough talent right now to field a winning club, but they won't throw any of their players under the bus. They won't do it. That won't do anybody any good. There is a clear desire to win at 20th and Blake, at least in the clubhouse and the manager's office. However, winning is clearly not a priority for owner Dick Monfort, whose team is headed towards its 7th consecutive losing season and mired in the worst stretch of baseball in franchise history. You're right about the lack of urgency. If winning was a top priority, the team would have built upon its winning foundation in 2018 instead of letting it all fall apart. Major League Baseball doesn't care if the Rockies lose 100 games for a 3rd season. However, MLB does care that the Rockies are the only team in the Mountain Time Zone and is content as long as the club continues drawing 32,000 fans per game to Coors Field. So it's like in that answer right there, yes, it's not like, man, put the big grill on him, really, really roasting him in that answer. But he's not saying anything that's incorrect. He's not hiding away from anything there. He acknowledges how bad the Rockies have been, and he acknowledges that, yes, as much frustrations as we have, the players on the field have been very disappointing as well. We can't just focus all of it on Bud Black, but it is just I guess I'm just bringing that up as an example where it's like, yes, I'm sure you want more and we want more on this, but this entire mailbag he is publishing and answering questions about the Rockies and negative ones. I mean, he even acknowledges it here before saying that he has to before he gets some bright spots, because when you are in that biz and when you cover the team and when you have to write and follow the Rockies every day, sometimes you need to find those positive stuff, because you can have episodes like this where it's like, what am I going to talk about? Am I just going to continue to harp on and do everything? And yes, I will, and I have in this episode. But you can hear it in my energy. You can hear it in my cadence. It's a letdown, and it's boring to me too. But I guess I think that there's plenty of heat, and then there's also plenty of ignoring of the Rockies, because the Rockies haven't shown that they're worthy of the people's time. They're not worthy of the coverage. Guys, this podcast doesn't even get promoted on with some of the other pages on 9 News' website because the interest is not there. People don't care about the Rockies, and they haven't given them a reason to do so. We care about the Rockies. Rockies fans care. I know we care, and the people that follow and cover the team too, which I again think they do a great job with the pushback. I mean, we talk about Patrick Lyons here pushing back. You see plenty of pushback about the Rockies. They're just not relevant enough in Colorado, and they're just not relevant enough on the mainstream to really for them to make as big of a deal about it. But if you go read this most recent mailbag, there's 5 questions all about and here, I think this is a good example. How does Dick Monfort rationalize maintaining the status quo with the general manager and manager after 2 years of 100+ losses and now possessing the worst record in Major League Baseball? And Patrick responds, I don't have an answer because I haven't talked to Monfort recently. In the wake of the Nuggets' recent decision to fire coach Mike Malone and GM Calvin Booth, I contacted Monfort about the status of Black and Schmidt. He declined to respond. Monfort owes it to the fans to discuss the state of his failing team. Again, I'm sure there's probably plenty of times where you're wishing for more. I just think the heat is on these guys. There's no way to spin a 7th straight losing season, 3 100-loss seasons, the worst start and the worst stretch of baseball in franchise history. You can't spin that anymore. There's the front office will continue to spin it towards the future, but I'm not seeing a lot of spin from the folks that are covering the team on this one. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I just, as a guy that is trained in journalism and works in news and sees how hard it is to be on the road and the grind of baseball and to constantly be dealing with this stuff, there's always probably room for some improvement for some. But I think there's I think the Rockies are not being held in a positive light by many out there. All right, let's wrap up the show here with just some closing thoughts and get ready for the weekend. Coming up next here on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. We are brought to you by PrizePicks. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With PrizePicks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, so maybe you are thinking a little Avs and Nuggets combo, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Yes, 2,000 times your cash. Maybe you're feeling like you want to take more on the Nikola Jokic points or the assists or the steals or whatever because he's Nikola. Maybe you want to do 3-pointers from Jamal Murray, assists from Gabriel Landeskog. You can see it all for yourself on PrizePicks and the PrizePicks app. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineups. Locked On MLB on the PrizePicks app to get that $50 instant bonus after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Rockies head home, thankfully, and they take on the Washington Nationals here. And let's get a quick look at where the Washington Nationals have been at. A bit of an up and down season for them this year as well, with some intriguing stuff and a little bit of tempers flaring in the game there. But when you're looking at the Nationals, currently 7-11 on the season here. Over their last 10 ball games, they are 5-5. They got a negative 19 run differential. They play the Pirates again today, so we'll see if they will improve to 8-11 or fall to 7-12, and see if they'll fall under or above 500 in the last 10. But pretty standard, kind of thing. I think for a lot of the teams right now, it's pretty amazing when you scroll down and you look at how many teams are either at that 4-6. 5-5 or 6-4 mark over their last 10. And then you have the exceptions, the White Sox at 2-8 and the Colorado Rockies at 2-8. The Reds playing good ball at 7-3. But the big thing here, this is not a team that's going to come in and dominate the Nationals, but this is a team that certainly can take advantage of the Rockies' weaknesses and be a team that that can come into Coors Field and out hit them. We've seen the Nationals do this before. This is a Nationals team in a division that's kind of still up in the air with figuring out how the long-term effects of this bad start will impact the Braves, but the Phillies and Mets starting to separate themselves from the pack a little bit here. So this is definitely a situation with another team coming in, facing the Rockies and saying, hey, we handle business. We take care of things. Not only do we got a chance at getting close to 500 and getting back up above that line, but we get ourselves, we could flip-flop with the Marlins, and if the Mets or the Phillies struggle a little bit for a bit, we can get ourselves back in the mix of things. As for the Rockies, this is, this is another team that's not as good of a team as that you faced in the past 6 days, but it's also a situation where you can look at with Oakland. I mean, Oakland is 8-10 on the year. When you're looking at what they've done, Oakland has scored more runs and allowed less runs here for a slightly less run differential. So this is certainly an A's team that can, a Nationals team that can do exactly what the A's did to the Colorado Rockies. We'll see. Off day, break for everybody. Keep firing off your comments, folks. Thank you so much for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. And until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.